The gophers have taken over this place. We are gonna now refer to this field as Gopher City. Welcome to Gopher City. I think I killed the mayor on the other side over there. There's a little guy right there. You doing okay there, buddy? We lost one. Bless his heart. That doesn't matter though, because they're gonna keep reproducing in this field, and this field's gonna continue to get rougher and rougher. I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to mount this GoPro under the header here so that I can watch and see what is exactly happening under the header as it cuts hay. Wheat is finished. It's time for third cut of hay, and we put something new on the front of our swather. Check it out. We have a 2004 swather, an old case. 2302 is the model number, and it used to have an 18-foot header on it. That header has given up the ghost, so we went to New Holland and bought a brand new header. 22-year difference between the swather, the actual machine back there, and the header that does all the work. Now you might be asking yourself, why'd you buy a new header? Why didn't you just buy a new swather? Well, a brand new swather can cost somewhere in the range of $170,000 to $200,000. A used swather as a complete unit for what we were kind of looking for, similar parameters to honestly what we already have as far as hours go, $90,000. A brand new header that still fits an old swather, $50,000. Now that's still a lot of money, but our thought process was $50,000, or we buy $90,000 or $70,000 for a used machine that we really don't know what we're getting into. We do know 100% that the hydraulics and the engine are sound on this machine, and we now know for sure that this new header is sound as well because it is brand new. Okay, well, it's not brand new. This is our second cutting with it. But let's talk about it. First thing you might notice right off the bat is this header is yellow. Why is it yellow? Well, this header is a New Holland header. It is the 416 plus, and then I don't know what that means up on the top. It says Momax 2 or something on it. Yeah, Momax 2. But the reason it is yellow is because it is a New Holland. New Holland mixed with Case International. That is CNH. CNH, I believe, hopefully I'm right on this, stands for Case New Holland. That is the parent company of both brands. They both come off the same factory floor. In fact, check this out. How do I know they come off the same factory floor? Look at that. There's red in there, and trust me, that red is not just primer. That is red because it maybe came off the Case floor or was painted red for Case, and then they had to put it on here, and so they painted over the red with yellow. Case and New Holland, same exact thing. So we knew that a New Holland would fit. We did try our local Case dealership. They pretty much told us that is a lot of work to take a header off of one of our brand new swathers, sell it to you, and then we will have to order another one to match that. Now I get there's some logistics and timing and stuff like that, but they told us that that's too much work to do all the paperwork that would be required on our end, so no, we won't sell you one. So went to the New Holland dealership. They had two sitting in the lot, two headers, just the headers, not the swather. They're like, heck yeah, we'll sell it to you. So we bought it. So why did we upgrade headers? Well, like I said before, the one before it pretty much gave up the ghost. It was done. Also, this one is so much better. It does things much smoother, much cleaner, much faster. Our old header was a very similar design, but it was the older design. It was an 18-foot header. Was not a fan of that. The outside edges, especially in heavy crops, outside edges would bunch up on the windrow, and we would lose drying time because the bunches, this is a windrow by the way, this is how the swather lays down the hay, but it would bunch up all this hay on the edges because there was another foot wide on the edges, but it still fed into the same width of a windrow, if that makes any sense at all. So essentially there's more hay coming in off the edge than there was in the middle, and it would bunch up. Now it still did okay, but it wasn't great, wasn't my favorite. Another thing about this is it has less knives on it. So the knives or the turtle or the cutting mechanism here, it has less of them. Of course, this one's the smaller one, but even compared to the old 16-foot headers, this one has far less turtles on it. That means less maintenance, less drag on the machine, better cutting quality, and well, their new design is just overall better. Another thing that's different about this is these knife blades are, I don't remember exactly, but they're slightly longer. That means the outside of the blade is actually spinning faster, because as this whole turtle spins, this is going faster, cutting more, and also has more cutting surface, and does a lot better. Also, the rock guards have changed, the auger and that delivery system has changed, and then I guess New Holland didn't offer this before, but steel conditioners. That is what we had on the case. I liked steel conditioners. I don't know why people have rubber ones, but rubber is still an option. Steel is what we have on here. That's the only thing I know, so I don't know anything different about that. So far, so good. Everything looks really good, but we have a couple problems. The first problem we have in this field is it's old. It's blooming. That's not ideal. It's still gonna make good hay, and when I say hay, I refer to alfalfa. This is what I think of when I think of hay, is straight alfalfa, no grass, no nothing, just alfalfa. But this hay is old, and it is heavy, and our prevailing wind, it is actually blowing from that direction now, our prevailing wind comes from the south. Blows all this hay over, and it is laying this direction. So when the swather's on this end, and I'm coming this direction to cut, it does a really good job because that hay is leaning into the swather. Now when I come the other direction, you can see right here, doesn't cut quite as well. It almost kind of just lays it over even more. So first problem right there. Well, second problem, because the hay's old and not gonna be quite as good feed quality, but it's still gonna be good. Next thing is, right here, we have gopher mounds everywhere. Everywhere. I am getting the greatest ab workout or core workout. Yeah, look at that figure. Yeah, you get that from riding this bumpy swather. Wrong, just kidding. But really though, my back is sore, my sides are a little bit sore, and it's only gonna get worse because I have more to cut. The gophers have taken over this place. We are gonna now refer to this field as Gopher City. Welcome to Gopher City. I think I killed the mayor on the other side over there. There's a little guy right there. You doing okay there, buddy? We lost one. Bless his heart. That doesn't matter though, because they're gonna keep reproducing. There we go, that's the word I'm looking for. They're gonna keep reproducing in this field, and this field's gonna continue to get rougher and rougher. Now this field has been in hay for 5 years or so. There's a gopher mound that has been slicked off from the header, but that is throughout the whole field. But let's get in the swather and go cut some hay. Hold on tight, because it is rough. And this swather here, even though it's a 2004, it's kind of neat. It's got airbag suspension in the back. Those have been upgraded on the newer models because, I don't know, maybe they didn't work the greatest. But it also has cab suspension right there. Suspension on the cab, suspension on the back. And it is still almost too rough to handle. Let's get to it. Yeah, you can already see how rough it is. We're not even going through the rough parts. Not yet. Hey, hey, hey. So normally we will be cutting our hay at 10 miles an hour, or just right under 10 miles an hour. In this particular field, we are not able to go that fast because of how rough it is. So whenever you hear a farmer say they came home and they're just so tired and they sore and been working so hard, and someone's like, hey, well, all you did was sit in the tractor. This is probably what they're talking about. They probably had a field that was really rough, and it actually beats the crap out of you. You're bouncing along there, using all your core muscles. Not that I have a lot, but using core muscles to try and stay upright, fight all the bouncing. Oh yeah, yep, that's rough. So, fun story about the Swather, it is actually the first piece of equipment that I ever learned how to drive when I was about 9, give or take, 9 or so. We used to have a dairy. We had, I believe it was like a 400 or a 600 cow dairy. My dad's gonna watch this and correct me on that. He sold it in 2004, so we used to have a lot more hay when we were dairying and had the cows to feed, and that was my older brother and my job to cut the hay and rake the hay, and then my dad would bale it at night. And one of the reasons that was the first job we ever had was it's hard to mess that up, and everything is right in front of you with the header, so you can see what's going on. You can see exactly where you're driving. During hay season, when we had that many acres and back in the day, everybody else was busy. So that's another reason it wasn't kind of like a choice, it was a necessity that we were employees of the farm and we would cut the hay while everybody else was busy doing something else. Something I've done for a long time is cut hay. Our older Swather that we used to have, a Case, model 8840, it had the reel and sickle head on it. So it had the knife, just like the combine, that goes back and forth and goes in between the guards. And then it had a reel, just like the combine header, and it would pull the crop in, and then it would act the same as this header does now, where it had augers that would bring the crop into the middle, go through the conditioner, I believe that one had rubber conditioners and not steel. Maybe it had one steel, one rubber. I don't remember for sure. But the conditioners are a necessary item to dry this hay out. You help crack the stem, which helps dry out the stem faster. You crack it, you break it, you let the moisture out, you push the moisture out. However you want to describe it, it helps a lot for the drying process. And then we will come back through here in about 4 to 5 days, or give or take, depending on the weather. Hopefully it doesn't get rained on. And we'll rake it. We'll rake 2 windrows into one, and we will bell it. And we bell in this area 4x4 bells, and everyone kind of refers to them as 1-ton bells, but they don't quite weigh a full ton. They weigh about 1,700 pounds, give or take, on moisture content and the hay quality. And I can tell you right now, this hay quality is not quite as good. A lot to do with the gopher mounds, a lot to do with the number of cuttings we've had this year, and they're blooming. Lots of factors go into hay. Man, it is rough. So rough. So one thing about all these gopher mounds here in this field and how rough it is, there's really nothing we can do about it, especially at this stage in the crop. In between crops, I guess we could maybe try to harrow it to level out all the gopher mounds. We would have to put poison out to try to kill all the gophers. It would be costly and barely effective in my experience. It kind of just is what it is. This crop is ready to be torn out. In this area, I feel like we get a lot of gophers, especially as we progress through the years on an alfalfa field. It seems like, I don't know if the alfalfa attracts the gophers to the root, if they just love it, or if it's because the hay will stay here for 5 years or so, and there's just been no tillage. And so it's just optimal conditions for the gophers to thrive in. They've got food, they've got shelter, they've got dirt that hasn't been worked up. And so, yeah, they come in thick. And once they start, they do not stop. Right now we're going about 7 miles an hour, and that's me kind of pushing it, because I want to get done, I want to be over with it. But it is definitely rough. So we've got suspension in the back, like I mentioned. We've got cab suspension. I forgot to mention, we also have suspension on the seat that I'm on. This is an air ride seat, so it's got an airbag under it, so I can be more comfortable on it, and it's still so rough. I can only imagine what it's doing to our brand new header. As you could see when we were going through it, there's a lot of dirt built up inside the header, which in turn creates more wear points and also makes it harder to cut a crop because we are plugging up with dirt. I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty cool that we can update the header on a Swather. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer that you should be able to do it, but it's pretty neat that you can update a header 22 years on a Swather. And the Swather handles it really, really well. They say that the smaller horsepower Swathers maybe won't handle it so much. The 1902, I think, was the next size down from this. That was like 100, I think that was 190 horsepower. This one's like 230, 225. I assume it would handle a 16-foot just fine, but I don't fully know. Hydraulic capacity is a big factor in these. They do take a lot of hydraulic power. For one, the Swather is driven by hydraulics. That's how it turns and steers and drives. it's not gears. Also, the header is driven by hydraulics. So essentially the motor on a Swather is just a giant hydraulic pump. That's how it works. I've always wanted to do this. Let's see, we are going to, let's put this camera here. I'm going to mount this GoPro under the header here so that I can watch and see what is exactly happening under the header as it cuts hay. I've always wanted to see this. I've seen a couple people do it and it's so hard to see. I wonder if the 360 camera is going to be better, because I know the people that did it before were with just standard GoPros. Maybe other people have done it with the 360. We're going to see how this looks. I hope it works. I hope it doesn't break. I'm using a roll bar mount. Maybe not the best idea, but I don't, there's plastic all up under here. Maybe, I'm nervous because of how rough it is out here. This header's bouncing on all these gopher hills. I'm nervous to use a magnetic mount and stick it up to the metal. Maybe that would work, but I'm nervous because it's so rough. I don't want it to bounce off, and as soon as it goes through the conditioner, it's toast, Dunsky. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. The other thing about mounting the GoPro in here that I've seen other people do is when we close these shields, it gets almost too dark in there to see. So I'm gonna close this one. Maybe you can look across the header through the view of the GoPro and it will look neat. But I think I'm gonna leave this one open. Let's test it out, see if it'll work. Actually, let's take that one off. I think it's mostly solid. I don't know. I think we can almost trust it. Let's see if this one's any better. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. Tucked up under there a little bit. Ay. Okay, let's go in the Swather, turn it on, and see what we think about it, how we feel about it. Okay, well, we drove a little ways with the GoPro under there. What is it? Maybe 200 yards-ish. Didn't go through the header. Didn't break. It's still there. I can feel it. Pull it off. Safe and sound. I hope that's cool footage. That should be pretty neat. So a couple fun facts about alfalfa hay. This hay is going to be used to feed cattle, whether it's the local dairy or the local cattle guys that are raising beef cattle, and they will feed hay throughout the winter when the grazing is no longer an option. Idaho is actually number 2. They go back and forth between number 2 and number 3 for the highest milk production in the U.S. A lot of people think Wisconsin because you think Wisconsin cheese, but Idaho goes back and forth with this number 2 spot with Wisconsin. And California is actually number 1 for the milk production in the U.S. They have a lot of big dairies more north in the state, believe it or not. And Idaho has a lot of dairies in this area as well. And so hay and other forage crops like silage corn, triticale, and other things like that are used. Even barley is chopped often for the use of feeding cows and animals. So hay production in this area is a big thing, and a lot of it, or most of it I should say, stays local to the local animals and the local economy. So whereas a lot of other places might export their hay, we keep most of it here. There is some export, but not much. Also, hay, I was saying earlier, I talked about hay being a, when I think of hay, I think straight alfalfa. Alfalfa is pretty neat because it's a perennial crop that can be cut multiple times. I know in Arizona they cut it a lot more than here and other warmer climates, but where we're at, we can get 4 to 5 cuttings per year, depending on our weather that year. But if we do a haylage or have like a local dairy come in and chop it, excuse me, if we have a local dairy come in and chop our hay, that hay, we can usually get a faster turnaround. Hold on, changing your view so you can at least see what's going on. We get a faster turnaround if the hay's chopped on the first cutting, or any cutting really, and we can get back into the field, get the water going on faster, the hay growing faster, and so we can push the limits there a little bit more and get closer to 5 cuttings as well. But generally speaking, you're doing all right if you get 4 cuttings. That's always the goal. We are in cutting number 3. We will come back, bale this, water it, and for sure we will be able to get a 4th cutting out of this field. I don't want a 4th cutting because it's so stinking rough out here, but yeah. And it's also wild that hay is a broadleaf crop, and it comes back after being mowed down like this. It comes back fast and well, and it's good feed. So anyways, the more you know. Okay, I really appreciate you watching this, and thank goodness we didn't kill the GoPro. It's still live. That should turn out really cool. So thanks for coming along. I'm gonna finish this field, and then I'm gonna go home and hang out with the family because today is Saturday. So anyways, have a great rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing, wherever it is you are. And don't forget to hit all those buttons down below, the like, subscribe, bell, whatever. Hit all those buttons down there. And leave a comment. What do you want to see? Do you like what you see? How is this farm going? What do we need to change on our farm? There's a lot of things we need to change. I'm not going to listen to anything that you guys tell me I have to change, unless it's legit. But most people, they don't know my farm, and so they tell me to change dumb things that I can't really change. So, anywho, okay. After this, we have a lot of straw to bale, so stay tuned for those videos. We got our straw beater out. It's making a windrow, and then the baler is hot on his tail, so stay tuned for those videos. We'll see you next time.